Safely driving a motor vehicle requires the full attention and focus of the driver. Distracted driving, defined as any non-driving activity that has the potential to distract you from your primary task of driving, has been found to be a factor in 80% of vehicle crashes. Additional statistics emphasize how serious a problem distracted driving is.
Drivers eating or drinking behind the wheel are 3.6 times more likely to be involved in a collision than the attentive drivers who are not eating or drinking while driving. Drivers talking on cell phones can miss seeing up to 50% of the environment around them, including pedestrians and red lights. Drivers talking on the phone or texting are 23 times more likely to be involved in a crash.
The serious impact of this issue has caused many states to establish laws against distracted driving. These states have instituted fines and potential prison time for those found guilty of driving while distracted. We all know certain things distract drivers every day, like adjusting the radio, texting, eating, and drinking, and so on. But what are some of the most common distractions for professional operators? Here are several. Talking with passengers. Communication equipment, such as your tablet, MDT, or radio. Route maps, route descriptions, and onboard schedule displays. Vehicle equipment and fare boxes. There are 3 types of distracted driving that you need to be aware of and prevent. Visual, which represents taking your eyes off the road. Manual includes taking your hands off the wheel. Cognitive, thinking about something else instead of concentrating on your driving. As a professional operator, you understand the critical importance of keeping your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel at all times. But you must also be aware of the many things that can distract you from focusing on driving in the safest manner possible. To safely accomplish your job, you need to stay continuously alert to avoid hazards. Here are 2 major issues that can cause distracted driving: multitasking and divided attention. Most people think of multitasking as the ability to do more than one task at a time, and as a method of increasing productivity. But in reality, the human brain cannot do 2 things at the same time.
We can juggle different tasks very rapidly, and that may make us think we're doing 2 things at once, but we're actually switching our attention back and forth between those different tasks. You're really only performing one at a time. And because your brain is switching from one task to another, your reaction time slows down. That means you're not accomplishing either task with optimal focus or effectiveness.
Our ability to pay attention to more than one thing at a time has its limits, similar to the multitasking myth. When you divide your attention, the efficiency you do these actions with is decreased, and you will almost certainly perform poorly. An example of divided attention is talking on a cell phone while driving a vehicle. You perform both tasks at the same time, but you're doing them with divided attention.
By doing both at the same time, your brain is overloaded by incoming information. To handle that overload, your brain doesn't encode and store all of that information. Instead, your brain prioritizes some information for immediate attention and possible action and filters out the other information, which doesn't become part of your short-term memory. As a result, you may not be consciously aware of the critical roadway information that's being filtered out. That filtering process results in your brain's inability to alert you to potentially hazardous situations. That's why critical warnings of navigation and safety hazards are missed when drivers are engaged in cell phone conversations, texting, or other distractions.
10 days ago, a Houston motorist veered into a flooded ravine. He and 2 others were able to get out, but 5 of his children drowned in the back seat. Police say a cell phone was involved.
Just one distraction can steal your reaction. Let's take a closer look at the 3 types of distractions: visual, manual, and cognitive. Visual distractions include anything that takes your eyes off the road. This can include looking at directions, such as your MDT or tablet, or glancing down at your phone. Whenever you take your eyes off the road, you increase your chances of having an accident. Things can change really fast. And if you are alert and constantly scanning, you'll be able to look, think, and plan. You need to always keep your eyes on the road and remember to change your point of focus every 2 seconds and check your mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds. If you need to read directions, safely pull over to do so. You should avoid reading your mobile data terminal or MDT or tablet while on the road. If you need to revisit information or receive additional trip information, wait until you're safely stopped to do so. Remember that multitasking is a myth. Let's take a look at how dangerous it is to take your eyes off the road.
When you're traveling at 30 miles per hour, you're covering roughly 44 feet per second. So that means that for every 1 second that you are distracted or not looking, you have just traveled 44 feet. Let's say that you take 5 seconds to look down at your phone and read a text. At 5 seconds, you would have just traveled 220 feet with no knowledge of what has just happened around your vehicle or in front of it. What if a pedestrian stepped out into the street at the last second? You wouldn't have seen them or have been able to react because you were distracted. And as we learned in our previous lesson on following distance, when you travel at higher speeds, you travel a greater distance. At 55 miles per hour, that same 5-second distraction is long enough to cover an entire football field with your eyes off the road.
Texting while driving is especially dangerous because it combines all 3 types of distractions. Why do we focus so much on the distractions caused by cell phones and other electronic devices? After all, what's the harm in looking down for a few seconds to send a text or answer a call? Here are the reasons why.
Using a cell phone delays your reactions just as much as a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08. This is the same as being legally intoxicated. Cell phone use has been shown to slow recognition and reaction time and has been determined to be a significant factor in many accidents.
On a busy Texas interstate, traffic up ahead is at a dead stop. You can see it, but the driver of this San Antonio city bus speeding down the road clearly had something else occupying his attention. Betty Jo Hummel was in the driver's seat of that SUV.
Here it comes. Oh my God, that's bad. It's horrible. It was the most horrific thing I've probably ever lived through.
With 2 disabled passengers strapped in behind him, why didn't the driver ever slow down? Take a look at what Adrian Perez was doing instead. He pulls out his cell phone and starts texting, and not just for a few seconds. For 6 minutes leading up to the crash, Perez was looking down. And when he finally focuses on the road, it's way too late. Now he's alert, and he knows he's in trouble.
Recent studies indicate that drivers using cell phones are more likely to run stop signs at 4-way intersections and are more likely to be involved in rear-end collisions.
The bottom line is this: using a cell phone while driving is incredibly dangerous and could cost you your life, and possibly the lives of your customers. Not only is it prohibited by law, but you could be criminally charged for the act if you are involved in a serious accident while using your cell phone or other electronic devices, such as a smartwatch. That's why our agency and company prohibit the use of cell phones and other electronic devices while you're driving. It's a deadly distraction, and that's why it's prohibited as part of company policy. So remember, it could cost you your job. Every second matters, and you never want to have to say, "I only looked down for a second." 1 second could be a deadly second. Our second type of distraction is manual distractions. This includes anything that requires you to take your hands off the wheel.
Both hands should be free to control the vehicle with both hands on the steering wheel at all times. Distractions such as eating, drinking, or grooming can divert your attention from driving safely. Be sure to follow these procedures. Turn your cell phone off and stow it away. Do not eat and drink. If you need to refer to your paperwork or trip information, do so when you are safely parked. Make all adjustments before driving, and do not reach for items while driving.
Our third and final distraction is cognitive distraction. This type of distraction doesn't necessarily require you to look away from the road or actively do something other than drive. Becoming mentally distracted happens when something affects your attention and concentration while keeping you from focusing on the road ahead. Have you ever driven somewhere and don't remember how you got there? Or have you driven a route so often that it becomes routine? Or you're mechanically going through the motions without paying attention? Such mindless driving is extremely dangerous and sets you up for an accident.
This is what we call inattention blindness and is an extremely dangerous hazard. This is when you see things, but you are not really seeing them and processing what is going on. Cognitive distractions can be caused by many things: multitasking or daydreaming, thinking about things other than driving, like upcoming activities, work issues, and responsibilities. Feelings and emotions such as anxiety, stress, fear, frustration, sadness, confusion.
To avoid cognitive distractions, you should avoid customer conversations or phone calls, even hands-free. Keep your mental state and emotions in check and stay focused on the road. Let's review customer interactions in a way that will help you avoid distractions. It's important to greet and interact with your customers as the professional delivering the service, but customer interactions can distract you from your primary task, safely performing your duties and safely operating your vehicle. Here are tips to follow when communicating with customers.
Try to avoid unnecessary communication with customers while driving or securing a mobility device. If a conversation cannot be avoided and you need to communicate with a customer, do so while maintaining your focus on the safe operation of the vehicle. Politely inform your customer that you need to stay focused right now and will answer their question when it's safe to do so. They will likely appreciate and respect that response. Anytime the conversation impacts safe driving, pull the vehicle off the road to finish the conversation.
Every time you drive, you have a personal responsibility to stay alert, and you know that it's never acceptable to drive distracted. You must always be aware of the dangers to everyone on your vehicle when you take your eyes off the road, your hands off the wheel, or your mind off driving defensively. Let's recap the tips for managing potential distractions before you start to drive.
Adjust your seat and then your mirrors. Make any needed adjustments to vehicle controls. If you must make adjustments while on your route, only do so after safely stopping your vehicle. Know your route and where you're going before you start to drive. Turn off your phone and put it away before you start to drive. Personal electronic devices, including cell phones, are prohibited unless for emergency purposes.
Let's review the techniques for managing potential distractions while you're driving.
Keep your eyes on the road. Use constant scanning techniques to make sure you see 360. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. When you take them off for any reason, you significantly reduce your ability to quickly respond to a hazardous situation. Never read, eat, drink, write notes, or engage in other activities that take your attention away from your driving. Never use a cell phone or other electronic device while driving. When you must communicate to dispatch on the radio, tablet, or MDT, Ensure it's done in a safe manner. Always stop your vehicle in a safe location before using any of these devices. When referring to map directions or instructions necessary to perform your job, pull over and stop in a safe location to do so.
Always remember, your primary task is to safely operate your vehicle. Operating a transit vehicle is a challenging job. Not to mention, you're constantly surrounded by possible hazards. To safely accomplish your job, you need to avoid distracted driving and stay continuously alert to what's going on around you. And remember, distracted driving is deadly driving. As a professional operator, you must constantly see 360 to prevent collisions, especially with pedestrians and bicyclists. Pedestrians or cyclists struck by a vehicle could be badly hurt or killed. A paratransit vehicle weighs up to 13,000 pounds. When it comes to bus versus human, human always loses. In this lesson, we'll focus on procedures to help you avoid incidents involving pedestrians or bicyclists. In any situation where your vehicle is near pedestrians or bicyclists, make sure you follow these procedures.
Slow down and keep your foot over your brake. Reduce speed if you need to. Tap your horn to communicate with pedestrians or bicyclists in your path to make sure they see your vehicle. However, use common sense when sounding your horn near a bicyclist or pedestrian. If you sound the horn when you're close to them, they could become startled and might fall into the path of your vehicle. Allow ample room for them to be safe if you need to pass them.
Be aware of pedestrians near your vehicle, especially in the following situations.
Be vigilant at night or when weather limits visibility. Pedestrians will be more difficult to see at night or in bad weather, especially if they're wearing dark clothing. Be alert for pedestrians who may suddenly walk into the street from between parked cars. Always practice precaution and reduce your speed in areas where this may occur. Stop before you reach the edge of crosswalks and limit lines. This gives pedestrians in the crosswalk an extra cushion of safety. Slow down and be prepared to stop when turning into or entering a crosswalk, even if no one is in it at the moment. A bicyclist may suddenly come out into the crosswalk from around the corner and not be aware your vehicle is coming. Check to see where customers are right after they deboard your vehicle. Make sure your path is clear and your customers are seated before you drive away. Check your mirrors and make sure they are accounted for. Be aware of intoxicated pedestrians, especially when they get off your vehicle. Know where they are before you continue your route. They can be unpredictable and can slip into a blind spot without your seeing them. Be cautious when backing up and goal. Pedestrians, especially young children, may move across your path as you're backing.
It's important to try to communicate with pedestrians by making them aware of your vehicle and your intentions. Use these methods to gain their attention. Tap your horn slightly, but don't startle them. Try to make eye contact with pedestrians. Never assume a pedestrian will wait for your vehicle to drive by before entering a crosswalk. Stop and let them pass. Never assume a pedestrian can see your vehicle. They may be distracted in some way and not aware that you're approaching.
Pedestrians and bicyclists may be distracted in a variety of ways, walking or standing with their back to the traffic, looking in a different direction, listening to music with headphones or earphones, hurrying to get out of the inclement weather, talking or texting on a cell phone, wearing a hoodie that could affect their peripheral vision and their ability to see you.
Be especially alert when children are walking on sidewalks or playing near the road. Always practice extreme caution in residential areas or near schools. Always prepare for the unexpected with children.
Young children are especially unpredictable in their actions and can be impulsive. They may run into the street unexpectedly, perhaps chasing a ball. Young children may not have the skills needed to safely cross a street. They see traffic through a totally different lens than adults and may ignore hazards and take more risks. Children have limited attention spans and can be easily distracted. They also may have trouble understanding how to cross the street safely. Most children are shorter than adults, and it's harder to see them. Smaller children also find it hard to see above and around obstacles such as parked cars or bushes, so they may not be aware of your vehicle. Children have a limited perception of speed and distance. They may not be able to tell how fast a car or transit vehicle is going, or how far away a vehicle is from them. Children may not understand the danger of moving vehicles and may not know that a moving vehicle could hurt or kill them. Be especially careful driving near schools. Many children live within walking distance of their school or ride their bicycles to and from school and may be more relaxed about safety. Drive like your child, niece, or nephew or grandchild is playing in their front yard and could unexpectedly dart out in front of your vehicle.
Be very careful when elderly pedestrians are nearby. They may not be able to move quickly to avoid an accident, and they may also have hearing or vision problems. Be especially vigilant for elderly pedestrians when you're driving near nursing or retirement homes. Bicyclists are just as vulnerable, if not more so, than pedestrians in a collision with a vehicle. In addition, cyclists can move faster and turn quicker than pedestrians. Inexperienced cyclists can also lose control of a bike and fall unexpectedly. You'll need to be doubly alert for people on bicycles for several other reasons.
A bicyclist wearing headphones or earbuds may not be able to hear your vehicle and may not realize you're close to them. Many bicyclists don't observe traffic control devices such as stop signs or red lights. Be very careful in those situations. Be alert. Bicyclists may ride into the street unexpectedly mid-block or from other unexpected places or from a different direction than traffic is supposed to be going. Children riding bicycles can be very unpredictable. Give them special attention and plenty of room. Be especially careful of bicyclists riding between your vehicle and the curb. If a cyclist is riding between your vehicle and a row of parked cars, watch for a motorist who may pull out into traffic in front of them, or for a driver or passenger opening a car door into the path of a cyclist. This may cause the cyclist to turn into your path or fall toward or under your vehicle.
Always maintain a 4-foot separation between the right side of your vehicle, including all mirrors or other objects, and the left side of a bicyclist. If you can't safely provide 4 feet of space for the bicyclist when attempting to pass them, slow down and follow them. Wait to pass them only when it's safe to do so. Here are additional safety tips. Assume bicyclists may suddenly turn in front of you. When you're passing a bicyclist, always try to gain eye contact. Start with a friendly tap of your horn. Assume bicyclists may not see or hear you, so drive with caution to avoid a collision. When you pass a bicyclist, be aware that you'll lose sight of them at some point. As we learned, intersections are one of the most dangerous areas we encounter as a professional operator. You must be attentive for other vehicles, but also be watchful for pedestrians and bicyclists at intersections as well.
When you're approaching the intersection, scan ahead to check for pedestrians or bicyclists. Before making a turn, always rock and roll to see behind your blind spots. It could save a life. Always look left, right, left. Always cover your brake when you're near pedestrians and bicyclists at turns and intersections. Be prepared to stop. Pay special attention to pedestrians and bicyclists near curbs and sidewalks who might try to cross the street at the last second. Scan your mirrors while turning at 3 to 5 miles per hour. Check for bicyclists or pedestrians who may be behind you and between your vehicle and the curb. Watch your mirrors to make sure your tail swing doesn't endanger bicyclists in the street or pedestrians near the curb. When in doubt, always yield the right-of-way to pedestrians and bicyclists. Give pedestrians and bicyclists extra space on the roadway. Don't expect them to do the safe, correct thing. Always be ready for the unexpected.
Lives are literally at stake every time you encounter pedestrians or bicyclists. They are difficult to see, unpredictable in their actions, and most will be seriously injured or killed in a crash with a transit vehicle. The most common causes for crashes like these are driver inattention, failure to see and yield the right-of-way, and failure to control speed. As a professional operator, you must drive defensively whenever you're near pedestrians or bicyclists. Keep the safety of everyone in mind, whether they're on foot, riding a bike, or driving a vehicle. They are someone's loved one and part of our community, and it's your responsibility as the professional to make sure we don't cause them any harm. Stick to these procedures and stay safe. The decision to evacuate a bus must never be taken lightly. In most emergency situations, it's normally safer for customers to remain on board. You should not evacuate the vehicle unless it's absolutely necessary. However, there are situations where you need to evacuate the bus immediately to protect your customers from harm. If there is an immediate risk, don't hesitate, evacuate. Here are some examples of when you should evacuate your vehicle.
Your vehicle is on fire or there is a serious risk of a fire as well as smoke. Being stalled or stuck in an unsafe location. For example, within 14 feet or less of a railroad track or in a location where your vehicle is likely to be hit by a large, fast-moving vehicle like a train or a semi-truck. Your vehicle is in a dangerous position on the road where it could tip over or get hit by another vehicle. Fuel or toxic fumes are leaking into your vehicle. You see leaking fuel coming from or underneath your vehicle. Your vehicle is in the water, such as a lake or river, or is in danger of going into the water. One or more of your customers is threatening you or other customers. You suspect that a bomb or other weapon of mass destruction is on the vehicle, as well as any other condition that would make it safer for your customers to evacuate the vehicle immediately.
Remember the 7 emergency management response steps and follow these procedures when evacuating your vehicle.
Pull the vehicle over at the first available and safest location. Apply the parking brake and shut off the engine. Do not operate any of the electrical switches on the side panel or dash. Assess the condition of escape routes and identify possible safety zones outside your vehicle. Evacuate your vehicle and stay at least 100 feet away from the bus upwind of the vehicle.
Calmly and clearly give your customers your evacuation instructions that include the following:
The order in which they are to evacuate, which exits are to be used.
Stress that customers must assemble in a safe location well away from the vehicle and clear of traffic hazards. Advise them to leave their belongings behind to move more quickly. If possible, take a quick head count of your customers. Give any special instructions based on the situation. such as asking others to help a disabled customer, asking someone to call 911 if you're unable to get in touch with dispatch, or if you need immediate assistance.
Don't hesitate. Evacuate as quickly as possible. Speed is of the essence, especially if there is the threat of fire or vehicle flooding. Assess the condition of your customers to be evacuated and what assistance they will need. Ask for help from willing and capable customers when evacuating injured or disabled customers. Evacuate all ambulatory passengers first, except those who have agreed to help you evacuate non-ambulatory customers.
Some things you need to be aware of when evacuating non-ambulatory customers or customers using a mobility device. To ensure they understand you, look the customer in the eye and speak directly to them, not their aide or support person. Tell the customer there's an emergency and you must evacuate them as quickly as possible for their safety. Always ask for permission to touch them or their mobility device before doing so. If they're not ready, you could cause an injury, knock them off balance, pinch a finger, or roll over their foot or bag. Remember, your vehicle lift will not work with the power off. If the wheelchair lift door works and the lift is operative, use the lift to evacuate non-ambulatory passengers. In an emergency, the lift may be operated manually without power. You may also lower the lift halfway down electronically or manually and use it as a step for ambulatory and non-ambulatory passengers.
You may have to cut or remove all customers' restraints and leave mobility devices behind. You may have to carry or drag a customer with a disability from your vehicle. If you do, try to get help from other customers. If a drag blanket is available, you can slide passengers from their seat onto the drag blanket and grab the corners to drag or carry the passengers down the aisle and out the door or emergency exit. If a drag blanket is not available, as a last resort, you can grasp under their arms and gently pull your customer to safety.
When all your customers have evacuated and are accounted for, keep everyone in a safe location, at least 100 feet away from the vehicle, and wait for emergency responders. In the process of evacuation, don't forget the 7 steps for emergency response.
First and foremost, remain calm and professional to reassure your customers. Assess the situation. Protect people, then property. Get help or call dispatch. Reassure and assist your customers so they will stay calm and follow your directions. Secure the scene and gather information for appropriate incident reporting.
We hope you're never involved in a situation where an emergency evacuation is necessary. If you are, securing the scene and helping customers exit your vehicle should be your highest priority. As we continue our discussion about emergency procedures, we're going to discuss some very serious subjects. In this lesson, we'll cover how to manage threats of violence, hijacking, workplace violence, a shooting, and human trafficking. As a professional operator, you're more vulnerable than most people of encountering violence on your vehicle, such as verbal abuse, physical assault between customers, and sexual harassment, due to the fact that you interact with the public on a daily basis. Here are a few important things to remember in these situations. First, pay close attention to customers who appear to be under the influence of drugs, are angry, or respond angrily when greeted. Do not provoke them, or they could react to you or another customer in a violent way. When dealing with threats of violence, remember the following steps.
Stop the bus. Ask the person to stop the violence. Encourage the person to escape by opening the doors. Call dispatch, requesting the appropriate assistance, such as police or medical help. have the person removed from the bus even if they have stopped their violent behavior. If the person stops their violent behavior, continue on your route, but be sure the police meet you and remove the person from the bus.
Do everything you can to prevent a hijacking situation. Don't leave your vehicle unattended and make sure the vehicle is secured. If you find yourself in a potential hijacking situation, hit the panic button if equipped, or send an emergency alert to dispatch to inform them of the danger. Follow the 7 emergency management steps and try to remain calm and protect people. Here's what you should do.
Accept your situation and remain calm. Do not upset abductors. Do not try to be a hero. Follow the captor's instructions. Do not speak unless spoken to. Observe everything carefully. Do not turn your back on your captors. Avoid physical resistance. You have little chance of success in resisting. If permitted to speak on the telephone for any reason, follow the abductor's instructions. Be patient and remember, time is in your favor.
We've discussed the importance of always making sure that our vehicles are properly secured to avoid rollaways. Another reason why it's important is to prevent vehicle theft. Although it's a very rare occurrence, it can happen if you don't follow appropriate procedures. In the event this happens, contact dispatch immediately with any information you have so that they can try to track it through vehicle technology systems, as well as report to 911. Never underestimate the potential for violence at work and take every threat seriously. To help prevent a violent workplace, adhere to these guidelines. Create a supportive environment where violence and disrespectful behavior are not tolerated. Resolve conflict peacefully. Seek professional help if you feel threatened in any way. It's critical that you learn to recognize signs of a troubled coworker, a disgruntled employee, or a victim of domestic abuse. Indicators of potentially violent behavior may include one or more of the following.
Sudden and persistent complaining about being treated unfairly. Blaming of others for personal problems. Sudden change in behavior, deterioration in job performance. Increased use of alcohol and/or illegal drugs. Unexplained increase in absenteeism and/or vague physical complaints. Depression, withdrawal. Increased severe mood swings and noticeably unstable or emotional responses. Increasingly talks of problems at home. Increase in unsolicited comments about violence, firearms, and other dangerous weapons and violent crimes. Inability to control feelings, outbursts of rage, swearing, slamming doors, etc.
If workplace violence does occur, stay calm and notify authorities as soon as possible. Avoid any aggressive response that may provoke the attacker, such as yelling or arguing. If you can do so safely and without aggravating the situation, evacuate the area. If a crime was committed and it's safe, secure the scene for law enforcement. If you notice off behavior or think the safety of your coworkers could be at risk, immediately report it to your supervisor, manager, or human resources representative. If you confront an active shooter, follow the 7 basic emergency management steps. Remain calm and professional. Assess the situation. Protect people, then property. Get help or call dispatch. Reassure and assist your customers. If possible, secure the scene. And gather information for appropriate incident reporting. Quickly determine the most reasonable way to protect life. Customers are likely to follow your lead during an active shooter situation. Call 911 only when it's safe to do so. Here's what you should do when law enforcement arrives. Remain calm and follow officers' instructions. Immediately raise your hands and spread fingers. Keep your hands visible at all times. Avoid making quick movements towards officers, such as attempting to hold on to them for safety. Avoid pointing, screaming, and/or yelling. Do not stop or ask officers for help or direction when evacuating. Just go in the direction the officers are coming from. The following information is what you should be prepared to provide to law enforcement.
Location of the victims and the active shooter. Number of shooters if more than one. Physical description of shooter or shooters. Number and type of weapons held by the shooter or shooters, like a handgun or rifle. Number of potential victims at the location.
If you believe your vehicle is being shot at or rocks are being thrown at your vehicle, do not stop and take these actions. Keep driving out of range of danger. Follow the 7 basic emergency management steps. Have your customers get down below window level. Call 911 immediately as well as dispatch. When it's safe, stop your vehicle and check for injuries. Learning to properly respond to violence on and off your vehicle is critical to keeping your customers, coworkers, and yourself safe and alive. Always be aware and know what to do before trouble strikes. Human trafficking is a modern form of slavery with nearly 25 million victims worldwide, including in North America. Traffickers use all modes of transportation to conduct their activities and often use public transit because of its low cost, greater anonymity in buying fare cards, and less direct interaction with government or transit officials. The transit industry can have a huge impact at reducing human trafficking and is committed to doing just that. As a professional operator, you too can make a difference when it comes to stopping human trafficking on your vehicle. The best thing you can do is, if you see something, say something to dispatch or the police. Here are some common indicators that a person is a victim of human trafficking.
They cannot leave their work environment or cannot quit to find another job. They show signs of physical abuse or injury, are accompanied everywhere by someone who speaks for them or allows others to speak for them when addressed directly. Appear to be fearful of or under the control of another person. Are threatened or afraid of being handed over to the authorities. Are unfamiliar with their surroundings and do not know who they can trust.
Learning to properly respond to human trafficking on and off your vehicle is critical to keeping your customers, coworkers, and yourself safe and alive. Always be aware and know what to do before trouble strikes.